Hello and welcome to Be Powerful with Liz and Lee. It's a new day and we're so glad you're here.
So you can expect to hear candid conversations on what it means to be powerful. Live authentically, live in the midst of ups and downs, productively, and above all else, joyfully.
We are so thankful for you, our community of listeners, and we hope you enjoy today's show. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Lee.
Great to see you today.
You too.
Look how good you look.
I know. Check it out. If you're not on YouTube yet, pull it up because I'm sort of matching, right?
What are you
I'm
matching?
I'm a burst of color.
You're wearing a bright orange neon shirt.
Yeah, it
And
feels good.
what are you matching?
The walls of my house outside this room.
Oh.
I have all this like really bright orange,
Mhm.
and people are like, "Hey, if they probably want to like tune in just to see that. Like, who puts orange on their walls?"
You can
I
see it
do.
back there. It
Yeah.
looks great. No,
Yeah.
you look very good.
Yeah, thank you. You
Pop
do
in your
too, by the
color.
way.
Starting this day off
Yeah,
strong.
strong. But I tend to slump on this thing, so I've already talked about that before. So I'm gonna quit. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Queen of posture. Everybody roll
Queen
your
of posture.
shoulders. Pull your core in.
Yeah.
And we're about to do a Hilliard Studio Method class.
Yeah.
Except we're not. We've already done that today.
That's right. We got that done. So next are podcasts. And this is my favorite day. We podcast once a week.
Mhm.
And this week, what is our topic? Yeah.
We're going to find out.
Yes.
But first, we're going to play a little game to
Okay.
warm us up. Because remember, we play this game. Do you remember?
Right. The two things.
Yeah.
And it's your turn to
Okay.
ask the two
It's
things.
my turn to ask
Mhm.
you two things. I would like for you to name me two things that you've bought on a vacation or a trip that are mementos, souvenirs, or whatever that mean the most to you.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
two.
Just two. Wait, they're in
You're
the
looking
room.
all around.
I know.
Just two.
We're in the room where some of them are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can I grab one?
Go ahead.
Like, okay. Right.
She's coming back. It's fine.
Look at this.
What is
Gaudi. You know the artist Gaudi?
that? Okay, so you were in
I was
Spain,
in Barcelona a long
Barcelona.
time ago, and this is my thing I got from there.
So people who are listening, why don't you describe that?
Okay, so this is a dragon, of course. Of course, it's a dragon. And then, but it's more like what kind of dragon is that?
Like a Komodo dragon, like an
a
iguana
Komodo
dragon.
But it's got rainbow colors. And guess what the main colors are in it?
Orange and blue.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's sort of like our podcast mascot. So if you're not on YouTube, you need to see our little podcast
So if you're
mascot.
listening, he does. He looks like a little 10-inch.
This is also just like a
ceramic.
real example of Gaudi.
Right. So it's like mosaic and
yeah,
is in
like it's in
a
all
different
the
colors.
gift stores and all that. So when I
Okay.
travel, I try to bring something that means something to me back. And I literally can see another thing from when we went to Italy.
Okay, hold. But on your dragon, when was this? Was this before Hilliard Studio Method? Like
Yes.
before all your dragon time?
Yes. Well, dragons have always been, I didn't even know it. Dragons were
Mm.
just me and following me around, or I was following them around, one or the other. We're just one. We
You're
saw
just
this
one.
in the movie the other day. We went to see the movie The Northman.
God.
Was that where Lee just loved that movie? It's all about Vikings, and I kind of loved it. It's super violent. but
Super violent.
He's also super
gory.
hot, right?
I mean, I wouldn't
Come
say
on.
that's where he looks the hottest.
He
But
looks good.
anyway.
Anyway, what was the line? You're either a dragon or you're a pushover or something. Somebody said
Oh.
that, and
we're going to have to figure
we're
that
gonna
one
have to
out.
figure that one out.
Okay.
Because I've always
It
been a
was good.
dragon, and but anyway, that's my dragon from Barcelona,
Okay.
and
I like that.
I mean, again, I'm going to go off camera. Okay, you
Go get
talk
it.
because I'm going to get it.
Okay. So she's just dashing across the blue room to get these stacks, you can hear them, of little dish plates.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to ask me this. This is a great
I didn't either.
question.
I didn't either.
I mean, these are our rainbow, really cool. Again, all these colors, all the rainbow colors. And this is from Italy when we were in the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah, Positano.
Positano. And so we bought them, or, I bought them all because I was like, I need these. So we have them here in our blue room now, called our podcast room.
Podcast room, COVID Cafe. So it's like a little square dish.
Yeah.
A little trio of 3, and they just sit there. And why do you like them?
Because they remind me of a really incredible time with you. It was one of my favorite trips ever, maybe the favorite trip
Yeah.
ever. And I think it's important to have a tangible reminder
Mhm.
of things that have meant something to us.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I used to wear out would travel, bring like
Dusty.
baseball caps or, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I really like things that I can put in the house and just sort of, it doesn't matter if they really fit, but they always end up doing it
Mhm.
because then those things speak to me. I
I
think it's
love
important.
that.
And I remember how great we had that time was. So we were,
I know. I remember walking the small streets, and there's so many different artisans and local
yeah,
people there making their crafts.
right.
And I just
Self-expression, right?
oh,
Segue.
oh, we got there. We were going to talk that meant my question. I didn't know had anything to do with that.
That's the way
I'm
life
excited about
works.
traveling, and you always collect
Yes.
good stuff. So before we get to full self-expression, because that's a really actually good segue,
Yes,
it's your turn.
Oh, I'll have to ask you back.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget this game. Totally forget this game.
Every time.
Okay. Since we're talking about self-expression today,
Okay.
what are the two things that you have a hard time expressing?
Ooh, great question.
I thought so.
One, when I am uncomfortable or afraid.
No, I asked you for the two things that you have a hard time expressing. Now you're giving me a background of how you feel, but I want those two things.
I can't express when I am frustrated with someone. Like, I have a hard time speaking up for myself. Does that answer your question properly?
One of them.
Okay.
So those are two things. You've got one thing that you can't self-express, and that is speaking out when you are frustrated with what?
Anything. I mean, I have a hard time standing up for myself. I just don't feel like I have the space to have a voice in a situation. It's a fear of confrontation.
Okay.
Really, ultimately.
That's definitely
so
fair.
It is hard for me to express whatever it is that involves confrontation.
That's super fair, and I don't think you're alone in that.
Probably not.
Not at this table, she is alone in that. But I think in the world, I think a lot of us have that problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, second one. What do I have a hard time expressing about myself would be, any dark and scary parts.
How about how sexy you are? She just rolled in recently.
Go ahead.
Can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
I think I should, because you're not going to do this. You're afraid
Well, I
to
kind of
express
thought about
it.
that. I know.
Okay, so she just is a local designer that you just discovered. And Lee, you can see her right here on camera. She's got I don't know, her mother picked this out when she was in the 4th grade. I'm not being mean either.
I know you're not.
It's just she does this sort of Pollyanna look.
A lot of eyelet.
And it works.
Ruffles.
Except
Soccer
she
mom.
rolled in last week on Friday. And I'm like, where have you been? She goes, oh, I've got the greatest dress to wear to this gala we're going to. Oh, and I bought 8 other outfits. She pulls these things out of the bag, and they're all like Michael Jackson wear. or she's got a mermaid sequin dress that is body hugging. I'm like, who are you? And then she put all these things on. You put these things on, and I went, hold up. Where is the eyelet? And I didn't miss it one bit. You look really great.
Thank
so all
you.
of a sudden you're self-expressing in this really, it's kind of sexy. It's kind of chic. It's grown up for you. It's very self-expressive. I mean,
it really is.
And you really kind of walked differently. You looked at me. Sometimes she'll look at me and she'll go, I don't look good, do I? Or something. You say whatever comes out of your mouth. It's really the thought behind it is, I don't think I look good. So I have to overly praise because she's got this ridiculous, not ridiculous, but this sort of, it's just a low self-esteem about how you look in clothes.
Keep going.
But you're showing me these
I'm showing
clothes,
my true colors.
literally my jaw's on the ground. And I'm waiting. I don't know what's going to happen. But she was cocky. I mean, you were strutting around the living room, putting this stuff on and just going, and I'm going to wear this to this event. And when we go to that event, and I don't have an event for this one yet, but I'm going to look amazing when I go. I went, okay, it's nice to meet you. I really like the new lead. This is fun.
Well, and I think that's a great, okay, let's get started. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that is the greatest, most basic segue about self-expression as a visual. Just when you look at people,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see? So let's go back a step, because who I went to see, her name's Marissa Walensky of House of Jade Sky. Just a badass
In Charlotte.
designer. So I walk into her house where she has her studio. She does everything. It's a single woman show. There's just colors everywhere. It's like a rainbow and neon and chandeliers and clothes everywhere. And she had pulled stuff for me and was just like, yep, see your body, see who you are. That's a big flowy top. Let's take that off. Right? Like, it's time to show your body. And everything I put on, I just felt good. So shout out to her for having brands and types of clothing that make me feel good. I don't know if she's short like I am. She just gets
When the
a female body that has a little curvature to it. And I appreciate it.
When the pupil is ready, the teacher will come. That's all I got to say.
Oh, I love that.
The time was right.
It was right.
time for you to get your self-expression on.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that anything you've done prior to those incredible purchases from last week was anything less expressive. It's just that was a really bold expression that I haven't seen. And I think we all kind of have different parts of ourselves, and we get stuck in the look, as in the expression, as in the one that is acceptable, as in the one that everyone expects.
Right.
And we're multifaceted humans, and you just showed some beautiful cut crystal parts of Lee that I just had not seen before. And it was really fun to watch you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look at myself over time as a 43-year-old woman, and I'm cut from a very basic cloth that probably has a lot more to offer. And that's hard after habits of self-expression that remain kind of the same to branch out and to let that feel good. I mean, this is a stupid example, but I've parted my hair on the same side for 42 years, and I can't get it to go another way.
Yes, you can. We have this discussion not all the time, but
we do talk about hair.
You are
a lot.
exasperating sometimes, because you get these like habits, and you're like, I can't do it that way. My hair won't go that way. Of course, your hair will go that way. You do whatever you need to do to express who you are. As a matter of fact, now we're just going to be on the frivolous side of life, because that's so much
That's
fun.
where we're starting.
So when I'm at my salon, my girl, I love you, Jacqueline, at Salon 8, she's so good. But she'll give me, somebody else will dry my hair besides Jacqueline. And they always go, it's a typical question. What side do you part your hair on? I'm like, I don't care. Why don't you decide today? I literally say that to every single one of them.
Right.
And see what they want to do. And it's always on a different side, and it's always a different expression.
And I think that's an exact metaphor for exactly who we are. Like, here is Lee. She parts her hair this side. It's going to stay this side. And if it gets a little messy, we're going to fix it. I want to brush. Let's brush it out. You are that perfect example of whichever way it's going to go. Let's go.
Exactly. I mean, that doesn't make me better or any of that. But
it just is indicative.
It's indicative
of who we
are.
really are at the core.
Exactly.
So check your part.
Yeah.
Do you need to make it a little different today, spice things up?
But I love difference. I mean, I am only comfortable when I've got something new and shining and different, even about the way I'm expressing myself, whether it's in clothing or in the way I'm, interacting with people. I'm more comfortable just trying to reach outside my boundaries, because I don't care who you are. You get your self-imposed boundaries that I get stuck too. And we were talking right before we started the podcast about how I've lived a long time, and I feel comfortable in my skin, and I'm okay not being accepted, right?
Oh, yeah.
In certain parts of society. But I'm still always yearning for it. Don't you see me? Am I really not okay? And then I'm like, wow, I still have
that need to be accepted.
Well, but that's different from being comfortable in your skin, which I am comfortable in my skin, and I'm okay not being accepted by the by the people that choose not to be
sure
my people. But we all want to be, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
We're
At the
all
end of the
just
day.
little kids at the end of the day going, can I just play in your sandbox? Because it seems like your toys are fun, and I just want to be with you for a little bit. So I think we all have that yearning.
For
And
sure. I want to stick with the clothing just for a minute more
I
because
always want to stick with clothing. It's a
right,
great
because I mean,
idea.
I think you've been a model, you're always at the front of the fashion scene, I think. Yet you like to be different and kind of test the boundaries, and at the same time, you know your style and you stick with
Mhm.
it. So what's your self-expression fashion mantra? How has that changed over time?
Mm.
What would you say to people who need a little
Oh, that's such a thank
boost
you.
of support?
That's a great question. My fashion mantra is always wear the clothing that accentuates who you are, and don't let the clothing wear you.
Mhm.
And that's where I wear very very structured lines.
Right.
Really, I've pieces that I've had for real for 30 years that I still put on my body. If they're good quality fabrics and designers, I've said this before about my daughter. She still has a pair of pants that I bought her that are designer pants in the 8th grade.
Wow.
And the reason she still has them is they are a look that is forever.
Mm.
So that's my style. Now I accentuate it with fashion. I'll go into the cheapest place, Target or somewhere,
Right.
and buy a really trendy or that cute little place in Charlotte called Bastique.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive clothing. And you can sort of add to those really great pieces. So in my closet are all sorts of expensive, fabulous designer clothing pieces that I add to them with inexpensive. But bottom line, I want my fashion because everyone is fashionable. People that say that they are just not into fashion, they're into fashion. What you wear is a representation of who you are. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Even if you're being like doing yard work, it's a representation of who you are. So when I put on clothing, I know that that's the first impression. And I think that I have always enjoyed the fact that I want people to see who I am.
Okay.
So don't you go to yard work yet, because I can read your mind. But I want to say more about the body.
Yeah.
Because the body, no matter what your body is or looks like or you like or dislike about it, accentuate it because that's who you are. And don't hide it under layers and layers and layers of clothing just to be hidden. Don't hide who you are. And people do that with their fashion.
Right.
So
Why do you think?
Because I don't know because. I mean, I think people have a low opinion of themselves.
Right.
And I see it all the time. I see it in our clients, and I have an opposite rule about fashion. As a matter of fact, when I put on a couple of pounds, which we all have done here and there, when you see me in the studio, I'll have on a crop top. And I do it on purpose because I want to see what my body looks like 5 pounds heavier. And I'm not always pleased with it, but I do the opposite because I'm like, am I okay with that?
Right.
Okay, maybe I'm not okay with that. But I reveal myself. I reveal my physical self without, still wearing the knitdress that I did in the 70s and 80s.
Sure.
Even though sometimes those are pulled out. But
that's a really powerful
yeah.
practice. I think people should try that because I think we get in a cycle if we're feeling in a rut or down or overweight or depressed or whatever, like just to cover up and to hide. And that's just going to create a vicious cycle. I know it does for me. If you rip that off, that Band-Aid off, you have to deal with it.
Right.
You have to deal with it.
Right. That's why I was so pleased when you came home and you had clothing that accentuated Lee. I mean, you don't have the same body as as other people. You have this incredible body that I just think is beautiful and feminine, and I love it. And you bought clothes that accentuated Lee, and find yourself in the fashion you wear. And then it doesn't matter if it's from Target or from, Valentino.
Right.
And if you can mix the two, you're really onto something, which is what I try to do. But I mean, you're going to feel good about yourself. It's sort of like looking in the mirror in the morning and sometimes putting on a little mascara because you just sort of open up your eyes and you feel better about yourself. And if that works, that works.
Yeah, kind of that self affirmation. And I'm so lucky that I do think you have helped me come into myself. Thank you for those kind words about how you see my body. And it helps me try to see it that way too, when we're inundated with a million other images that make us feel not good enough.
Right.
I mean, at 5'3" with, you know, a small body, but it has shape, and I'm never going to be like super ripped cut. And I might not feel like I'm the most in shape fitness trainer in the world. And I can think of all that. Or I can say, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I feel good, and let that expression start to happen and really love and respect my body. And at that point, then I'm willing to try things that do accentuate who I am. And then you feel so much better. You're like, oh yeah, I feel myself right now.
Right.
And that shows, that shines out.
Right. And that's why you're such a good example when you're instructing at the studio, at Hilliard Studio Method, as you have an incredible body, and people they're listening to this and are watching it are going, really? You're not a, instructor looking, but you have a very feminine body, and you're not going to be that muscular,
right,
ripped up, woman, because that's not who you are.
Not who I am.
And that is so inspirational to people, to people that need to know that.
And now I know that.
Yeah.
Right. Like that takes some time to get there. And exactly what I said to women and men all over the world. I mean, we're just inundated with what's supposed to be as far as image.
Well, and that's our whole podcast.
Exactly.
Is we're trying to understand
Shed
that we are part of a society that unless you are playing the game of what's expected of you, then you're out.
Yeah.
And what I see is if you play that game, no one actually ever gets to see who you really are. And that would be the shame of one day, of when you die one day and going, they never really saw who I was. Or, oh, I had that idea that one time. I wish I could have said it.
Yeah.
Or been it or done it. Because I want to play in your sandbox too, right? I'll be what you want me to be sometimes, just so I can be accepted.
Right. Well, I mean, would you say, you've maybe heard it to your face or not, or generally like, oh, Liz Hilliard, too sexy or whatever? I mean, what do you say to that if people think?
Well, people always say to me,
whatever it is,
they say, well, you're different. Or people go, well, yeah, but you're you.
Oh, like you're an outlier.
Yeah, I'm some kind of like a freak of nature or something.
No,
I'm not.
Are.
I'm not. Well, maybe I'm a freak. That's okay. I will own that. I've got the flag upstairs. I'll fly that one. But freak of nature.
No, you're not.
We are what we think we are. We are what we say we are. And we are what we eat and what we put in our body and how we move. And I'm doing all those things.
Don't you think that's projection? If someone says, you're to this or you're to that, then they probably don't feel sexy enough. And they're like, wow, how does she get to wear that? And I don't. That's my opinion.
I really don't know. I mean, yes, probably so. I don't know. That's when it comes too close to my skin, I don't like to be, I don't know. I'm kind of shy about that, aren't I? Sometimes some things do have me a little bit shy.
Well, okay, let me rephrase that, because I'm not meaning to say that you're too sexy, but let's face it, you're 68 years old. You have a beautiful figure. To your point about wearing clothes that show your body off, you do. I think I don't even want to say, I think it's appropriate. You look good. And you're not just disappearing into your clothes because you think you should, because now
then
you're
if
older.
Okay, there. Thank you, soapbox. No, when you disappear, go ahead and die, right? I don't think anybody should disappear. I remember the other day I told you that my mother's mother told her that the only time a woman should be in the newspaper was when she died and have her obituary. Women have been through at least many, many years of generations before us, have been told to disappear, to be quiet, to be smaller, to stay in line. And so therefore I will never disappear. As a matter of fact, I would rather shock and frighten, not really frighten, but I would rather be out there and exposed than to ever be subjugated by my own boundaries,
right,
to being smaller and less and covered up in clothing. And I mean, I see a lot of women particularly, not so much men. We all see these men. They think they look great. They got big old beer bellies. They're wearing their belts down below. They're like, hey, yeah, I'm still wearing a size 34. Well, if you put it around your actual belly, it'd be more like a 40. But I like their attitude is like, hey, look at me. I look good. And that's just really our socialization of men and women. And so for women, I think, you know, if you need to wear the sheaths and all that, you know, wear them like our friend Pam Stowe, girl. Put on. Have you ever seen? I don't know if you guys are in Charlotte know her. She's one of the most fashionable, self-expressive. She wears these flowy gowns and puts the stuff in her hair and just goes, and here I am. You don't put her in the corner. Don't put anybody in the corner.
I think that's
especially
the
don't
point.
put yourself in the corner.
Right. I mean, I think that's the point. We know we all have some sort of insecurity when it comes to ourselves and what and how we choose to put ourselves out into the world. So maybe if we, for each other, gave each other a little bit more of a hug, of a compliment, girl, don't you look good?
And it might help.
I think that is a really important message about self-expression. If you're the first to give somebody or yourself a compliment, like that just spreads.
Look in your mirror and say that. Girl, you look good.
Girl,
and then the next person, woman, girl, you see, tell her.
Yeah.
Tell her. I think we need to start saying more things out loud, especially to each other, to empower each other. And not just women, but we're talking about women and how we express.
Mostly,
and so I think just telling people honestly, you're impressive, whatever you're doing. You look great. You're expressing well. Maybe we find new words to say that.
Yeah.
And people might think we're dwelling too much on the way we look, but the way we look is the way we are inside. Don't you believe?
I think so too. I was shocked kind of thinking we really talked about the clothing, but I think it is such a big part that leads us into the internal aspect of that. And I think it's a really good place to start to really pay attention to the inside version of self-expression. I mean, listen, we've got amazing men and women who are very fashionable in this town. We've got amazing designers, kind of it's at our fingertips, and as, you know, vacuous as that can seem, it really is an expression.
It's not vacuous.
It's not. I think it's if you just think, oh, they're still talking about clothes, it's an expression. It's art. And I think, however you want to wear that.
And if you don't want to wear clothes, don't wear clothes. I mean, you know.
That takes me back to you doing yard work when you said.
Yeah, I knew. See, we can read each other's minds. And you can talk about the yard work.
You have a series of tank tops and shorts that you wear.
They're more like wife beaters.
The front lawn. And
in the back lawn too. It's just that I live on this busy street. And I even put an Instagram story up last week about my plugged in my power mower. I have everything electric. We've already talked about this, I know, on the podcast, but we're going to say it again. For the environment, I have leaf blowers. I have lawnmowers, really cute little petite lawnmower that you plug in and it lasts for like 30, 45 minutes. And if, you know, I think I'm doing my part for the environment. Plus, it's my meditative moment during the day. And it's funny how people ride by my house because I live on a busy street and they're yelling at me. I guess literally they're like, I can't believe you're out mowing your yard. I'm like, well, you should be. What are you paying these people? And all these other guys are like blowing gasoline all over the place and with these loud, you know, what are they called? Blowers. And it's terrible for the environment. And who wants to sit on the back porch sipping a martini with a blower next door? Just saying.
Not us. So that was a little environmental
fashion moment.
Sort of fashion moment. Okay. We fully digress.
Yes, we did.
We started with fashion. I like that. I think that's an interesting way to think about it. How else do you express yourself? And who are you?
And me personally?
Yeah.
I express myself in the words I use are the most important thing I do. I know that I like to throw some F-bombs here and there, but I think the words we choose to use are so important and they are the expression. And so in my vocabulary, I try to choose words carefully and use words of affirmation and love when I'm around people, because that's my expression. And that's why Be Powerful is that expression. That's why we call it this podcast. It's power is bringing you to your greatest potential. So anything consciously that I'm speaking, when I'm speaking to people, I try not to belittle others. I try not to be around people that belittle others. And I try to use words that affirm and carry forward so that those people feel more affirmed, and they will carry that energy forward to the next person. And that's how I express mostly, but I don't underestimate, and I will never, ever give short shrift to physicality. And that's why I think talking about fashion, and especially what you and I do for a living, which is working out and keeping the body healthy, is anything but one of the most important things. And I'll go just a bit more. My granddaughter, Aubrey, yesterday, I went to it was a really great service for my brother who passed away really almost 2 years ago now, but we couldn't do anything because COVID was going on. And so we were looking around at all these people that were like my age, and we were even talking about it. And she goes, well, Dee Dee, they don't work out like you. I mean, I really like the fact that my 10-year-old granddaughter is aware that, the reason I am physically and even especially mentally, especially mentally and emotionally, I think, is from the physical and then the positive work I try to do, whether it's, moving my body correctly, but also the words I'm using, not always correctly, but with the base affirmation inside of me that my goal is to empower other people at the end of the day. Now, I might say, fuck, or those words, I might say those words.
Or it doesn't even have to be, a lewd word. It's just like sometimes we shout things out quickly or whatever. And so it's not necessarily about being calculated about what you say. To your point, it's about the feeling that you're trying to express. And that might come out messy or sloppy, but the energy with which you say it has a positive impact as its goal.
You can't lie. You can't be duplicitous when you have an energy. If I was like, I'm just jealous of her, but I'm going to be really nice to her, you're going to hear that. It doesn't matter if I say, you look so beautiful today. Well, you're going to hear that. So it starts with the base work in the gut, in the soul that says, I affirm you for who you are. I'm going to always come from a place of truth and affirmation.
And if you
or I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Right. I was going to say, just don't say it. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty that doesn't need to be said. And that's okay.
And honestly, we all know that not every moment of my life or your life, we've come from a moment of affirmation. We all have slides down, especially with your girlfriends chit-chatting and all that.
Sure.
At the end of the day,
we're not perfect.
It's important to round out your day and yourself with affirmative words and bringing people to beauty and to truth and to health by how we speak to them.
I think that's really important. I think a lot of that too, going to the unspoken word, is that body language and that energy that you come into a room with. And you think about, our children, I've heard it said, the first thing they see is kind of the sparkle in your eyes or your excitement or your opposite feeling towards them. And that's far more impactful than any word you could ever say. I mean, when you see somebody and their eyes light up, I mean, kind of where you stand and where that interaction is going. Maybe it's harder for me to self-express vocally, but I do wear my emotions kind of on
I think
my
you do
sleeve.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very obvious to you, at least, when I'm
I think it's obvious to everybody.
When I'm down. Yeah.
You can't hide it. You've never been able to hide that.
Right.
And I think that is a great thing. Nobody can really hide it. Just that I've never seen you try. and that's a huge compliment because you might be unable to express yourself when you're frustrated, like you said before, but then you just don't express yourself. You don't try to wing it.
Mhm.
you know? So that's kind of
Right.
interesting.
And then I'm thinking about what are the ways that I do take that unspokenness and express it. I mean, I guess the physicality is always going to be a major thing for us. The more I move, the more I'm able to get into that flow state
Mhm.
that makes me be able to express. I mean, maybe it's reading or writing or singing or art or music for other people. I mean, what is yours?
I just want to say something because
Go ahead.
I read a lot. I mean, I don't read. I listen to podcasts. I read what I can. I observe the world. I'm always looking for who's got the best handle on the truth
Mm.
these days, right? Who's got this? Who's got that? And I really think we just need to, again, quit looking so much outside of ourselves and just have some confidence. And I'm not good at this one. The one I'm not good at is I've got this idea sometimes, and then I think, well, but maybe if I was in political office, I could make
Mm.
that idea
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
But I think we've got to have courage in our own selves, and I'm speaking to my own self here, to say things that I know would help. And maybe somebody's
Mm.
already said it, but I think the courage
Yeah.
to say the things and quit waiting on somebody to quit waiting to read it in a book. I always want to be affirmed by reading or listen to a podcast, or God knows we all want to listen to Oprah because she's figured it out, right? I mean, I'm like, what is she saying that I'm missing?
Right. What is she telling me to do?
But what we have is when we're not trying to be a part of the group and play in their sandbox and try to do what other people do in society, but when we're actually trying to be ourselves and not conform to the rest of the world
Mm.
and spout out other people's ideas, then we get to say our own self words, which can be hard to say because all the people that have done things that move the world, like the religious figures, like all those, or people that have invented things, have been ridiculed and
Mm.
put down. They weren't very
Likeable,
accepted or invited to
Mhm.
come over for cocktails.
Right.
They're like, we don't want that person in here. They say that there's actual gravity.
Well, I think we have that now.
Yeah.
I mean, even more
Yeah.
in a polarizing state of the world that
Mhm.
it's who wants to be courageous when you're just going to be slaughtered.
Ridiculed. What if you were a politician these days? I mean, if a politician goes out and they change their mind on something, I mean, I change my
Oh,
mind a lot. I
right.
go, oh, wow, I've just rethought that. Or I've thought this through and I kind of think differently now about this. Then you're
Mhm.
called like a flip-flopper,
Mhm.
or, you have to like go into lockstep with whatever your political stance is, and you can't deviate or else you are just destroyed. And so the whole concept of this
Mm.
political system is
That's so true that
really a
people get
problem.
stuck
They're
in
stuck.
whatever they've said and you can't change it. And
Yeah.
that's the exact opposite of self-expression.
Exactly.
I mean, exact opposite.
Yeah. I mean, so therefore, when I run for office,
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for that.
and when I get up there and I go, I really believe really firmly in this. And I came back yesterday. I'm going to change my mind. I don't think I'm going to have a real good chance at winning.
I don't know. I could get behind that. Evolution, change,
Yeah.
being open-minded, being courageous.
Right.
These seem like good things.
I agree.
These seem like good things. Wow. So
Yeah.
much goodness.
I know. And self-expression. So I think as much as we think we have, or no, me personally.
Yeah, you say you and
I
I'll
always
see.
like to say us, but I know it's really me. I see my own limitations in being able to express myself, even though I'm very self-expressive and not afraid generally, but I am. I mean, there are people that know where my goat's tied. My mother used to go, don't let them get your goat. And then she'll go, they know where your goat's tied, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Some
Push your
people can get
buttons.
my goat, push my buttons.
Right.
And those people, I'm
Mm.
still very,
It's harder to
to
express yourself.
to express.
Right.
And because you know, or again, it's that base feeling. If I go into a conversation with one of those people that
Mhm.
knows where my goat is tied,
Mhm.
and I go in with a fearful base,
Yeah.
they're gonna taste it.
That's
They
right.
don't even have to hear the words. So you just have to not go in with I'm gonna show them base, but a base that says, I'm coming from Lizness and I'm gonna have to be able to handle if they don't like it.
Exactly.
And that's hard. I can do it almost all the time,
Mhm.
but if you know where my goat is tied, it's hard. It's
Wow.
hard.
That's so true, because I think I would fall immediately into the category of self-expression being what makes other people happy. I mean, if I'm a person who wants approval and doesn't want to disappoint people, then the way I express whatever I have to say or feel is what's going to come out is what I want other people to hear
Right.
in order to affirm
To affirm
what I've said.
and to literally get through
Ugh.
that moment.
Ugh.
I mean, how many times do we just try to get through the moment?
Sure, yeah.
Just get me through the moment. Life is not a damn cocktail party. Now, cocktail parties are a different animal.
They're
At a
fun.
cocktail party, we're just being small talk and we're trying to make everybody, yay, yes, the weather's
Right.
lovely and then you're dressed like, and that's great. But life is not a cocktail party. We need to literally affirm each other in
Mhm.
truthful ways,
Mhm.
and stand by ourselves. And I do it now more. It's easier because I've broken almost all of my rules, as far as being
Mhm.
acceptable with my society that I have been in and you too. But there's always another level of that, God, I really want to be accepted by that higher spiritual community. Wow, I need to read up on some shit before I go to talk to them. And it's just go in there and be yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
We have to trust what
Yeah.
you have to have this courage to say it and then trust what you're saying and be willing to kind of fumble through that.
Right. Who knows
and try
anything?
again.
Who
I mean,
knows
right.
anything? I mean, literally, who knows anything? And my whole thing was always thought it was stupid, but who knows anything?
Yeah.
It's not the more you read, the more degrees you have, any of that stuff. It is who you are inside and finding a way to express that, which takes you to the next truth, which takes you to the next truth. And you actually start to learn real things,
Boom.
So.
Boom. Wow.
Well,
I'm good. That's good.
Are we
I'm
expressing?
done.
Have we expressed it enough?
Yeah, I really think so. I really think so.
Yeah. Well, I think let's just all, for the next few time frames, try to express ourselves truthfully, but lovingly,
Mhm.
and see where that takes us.
Mhm.
And knowing that that's not always going to be the affirmative pat on the back, but
Right.
also know that it's maybe going to instigate someone else in your life that you love to also try that themselves.
I love that. Thank you for letting me express myself.
Thank you for letting me wear this orange today. I feel really good.
You look good too.
Thank you.
Oh, all right, everybody.
done?
I think we're done. Would you like to say anything else, my dear?
No. Enjoy this
Okay.
beautiful day. It is spring. I love you.
I love you.
And signing off.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.